Okay, so let's talk about adding and subtracting with uncommon denominators. As you'll notice, I have 3 different types of problems on the board. You don't have to divide your paper into 3 different problems. We're going to do one problem at a time. So let's focus on the first problem, which is 2/3 plus 1/4. You're going to notice that that problem is written horizontally. So on your piece of paper, let's write that vertically. It makes it a lot easier to solve. So 2/3 plus 1/4, and let's set it up like that. So this part you don't have to write, but let's just say that was 2/4 plus 1/4. You're going to notice that they have a common denominator. So I would keep the denominator and add the 2 numerators. So 2/4 or 2 slices out of 4 plus 1 slice out of 4 would get me 3/4. But that's not what I have in this problem. So I have to find a common denominator between the 4 and the 3. Well, a way you could do that is list the multiples. So for example, 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16, and 4 times 5 is 20. Let's do 3. 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times 5 is 15. And what you want to do is find a number that's in common, and you want to find the lowest number that's in common. Well, I know that that number is 12. So I'm going to set each of these fractions equal to 12. So I'm making an equivalent fraction. So for example, 1/4 is going to be equal to something over 12. And the way I find that is I say 4 times what is 12? Well, 4 times 3 is 12. So if I do that to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. 1 times 3 is 3. So here's what I'm saying, is 1/4 is equal to 3/12. Those are equivalent fractions. If I have 1 piece of pizza out of 4, that's the same as having 3 pieces of pizza out of 12. These pieces are smaller, this piece is bigger. Now let's do 2/3. Find 3 times something equals 12. Well, that's 4. If I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. So 2 times 4 is 8. Again, I've set an equivalent fraction. 2/3 equals 8/12. This tells me to add the 2 fractions. So 8 plus 3 is 11. And I worked so hard to get that common denominator, so I'm going to keep it to make it 11/12. So the answer is 11/12. If this was subtraction, I would just say 8/12 minus 3/12 is 5/12. Okay, so let's look at problem number 2, which is 2/8 plus 1/2. Again, it's written horizontally, so on your paper, let's go ahead and write that vertically. 2/8 plus 1/2. You're going to notice that they have uncommon denominators, so I need to find a common denominator by doing multiples. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 times 5 is 10. Let's do 8. 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24, 8 times 4 is 32, and 8 times 5 is 40. So the number that I notice is 8. So I'm going to set these equivalent fractions to 8. It's also the lowest multiple. But I want to tell you a little trick. If you're having trouble finding a common denominator, you can always multiply the 2 denominators. In this case, it would be 8 times 2 to get a common denominator. Because if I were to take these multiples and keep going, remember I stopped at 2 times 5, but 2 times 6 is 12, and 2 times 7 is 14, and 2 times 8 is 16. So 16 is a multiple, it's just not the lowest multiple. So let's use 8. So what I'm saying again is 1/2 is equal to something over 8. So 2 times something equals 8. That's 4. Remember, if I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. 1 times 4 is 4. So I'm saying 1/2 is equal to 4/8. And some of you know that off the top of your head. Let's do 2/8. 8 times 1 is 8. If I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. 2 times 1 is 2. Remember, this problem is asking me to add. So 2/8 plus 4/8 is 6/8. And that answer is correct, except we have to simplify that answer. And And what does that mean? I want to try to find a number that goes into both of these digits. Well, I know both of these numbers are even, so let's try 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Is there another number that I can divide into both of these? Nope. So I know that's the final answer. 6/8 is equal to 3/4. So when I'm simplifying, your teachers want 3/4. Okay, so let's focus on the last problem, which is 5/8 plus 1/2. Again, on your paper, let's go ahead and write that vertically. This time I'm going to skip writing all the multiples, and I'll just tell you that the least common multiple is 8. So let's set equivalent fractions equal to 8. So 2 times something is 8, well that's 4. So if I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. 1 times 4 is 4, so I'm saying 1/2 is equal to 4/8. Let's do 5/8. 8 times 1 is 8, so if I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. 5 times 1 is 5, so of course 5/8 is equal to 5/8. This problem wants me to add, but if it was subtraction, it would be 5/8 minus 4/8, which is 1/8. But it wants me to add, so 5/8 plus 4/8 is 9/8. And your parents are probably going to call that an improper fraction. Well, it's not an improper fraction, it's just a fraction greater than 1. So this answer is technically correct, but what your teachers want you to do is turn that into a mixed number. And what's a mixed number? A mixed number is a whole number and a fraction. So I'm thinking about this 9/8 and I'm thinking, what makes a whole? Well, how many 8s make a whole? 8/8. So why don't I just subtract 8/8? That's a whole. I call that the magic 1. I know that's not a great 1, but that's saying 8/8 is a whole. So if I were to subtract that out, 9/8 minus 8/8 would get me 1/8. But I have a whole there. So that's 1 and 1/8. So this answer is 1 and 1/8. And your teachers may have taught you a trick. 8 times 1 plus 1. So 8 times 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9, so that's 9/8. So I know 9/8 equals 1 and 1/8.